Well, hi, everybody. It's Michael Angelo Caruso here with another interesting interview. I don't know how I meet the coolest people in the world, but I do. And then you get to live vicariously through me. If you like this video and others like it, you want to like the YouTube channel itself. And if you subscribe, we can notify you when new videos are posted. I'm with my good friend, Jeff Taylor, today. How are you, Jeff?
Well, good afternoon, good morning, and it's amazing to be with the great Michael Caruso of the Edison House.
Well, or as I teach people to say, Miguel Angelo Caruso. You and I have known each other for a long time. We're in the same airspace, as it were, with professional speaking. And you've got a very interesting niche. I've been in love with it ever since I met you. I won't go near your niche, unlike a lot of poachers in the business. I'm not interested in your market. You've got it. You do a great job with it. And it's much, much needed. You help people get a college education either for zero money or on some sort of a plan where they can pay back the money very quickly, yes?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've developed my own system, which I call How to Pay Zero for College.
Yeah, and for those of you watching, his website, Jeff Taylor's website, is Pay Zero for College. It's a clever meme. I love it. And we're going to talk about your special strategy and how people can get with you in just a minute. I wanted to get a little bit of background on you, Jeff. As long as I've known you, I don't know much about your family history. Were you born in Michigan?
Yes, I was born in Michigan, and I don't know how deep, how wide you want me to go, but yes.
Well, what did your dad do for a living?
My dad is retired military sergeant major. He retired after 30 years of military service.
And was your mom in the workforce as well?
Yes, that's where they met. My mom was a Marine as well.
Okay, very good. So you come from a very strict home, I would imagine, a Marine home?
Oh, let me tell you something. My mother was 5'2", maybe.
Yeah.
And I tell you, she walked like she was 6'3".
That's another thing we have in common. My mom was 4'11". She used to
Uh-huh.
say she was 4'11 and a half, but everybody had stopped listening by the time she said 4'11". Short and
Right.
powerful woman, much like your mother, I assume.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what city did you grow up in Michigan?
I grew up in Detroit.
Okay.
And,
What we call an inner city kid?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cornbread and greens all day long.
And, Detroit means something different now than it used to mean.
Yeah.
We've come back, man, from the bucket. We went into the Great Recession way before everybody. We went into the Great Recession before there was a recession.
Yeah, we're on the front of the train.
Yeah, and we are on the comeback now. There's some amazing things happening in Detroit, but we haven't forgotten our past. And if you're a product of that culture back then, man, my hat's off to you, because you started. Speaking of pay zero for college, you may have, and people in your neighborhood may have started below zero back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I played football in high school, and my last year I had a very bad injury, and was looking for some answers. And make a long story short, ended up talking to the Navy. See, I tell people, when your parents are both Marines, that creates a genetic code and it sends you to the Navy. So there was an internal, because the Navy and the Marines are actually under the same department. But anyway, I got there, and at that time, I don't know how it is now, you had to take an exam, and my scores were very high. And so, make a long story short, I was put into a officer training program where I would be a Navy officer, and the Navy would pay for my education. And so that's how, and they said I could still continue to play football, which was my passion. So,
I don't know. Maybe that wasn't a good idea if you had had a bad injury.
well, you know what? It's interesting because it worked its way out. As I
Okay.
was sharing with you before, I don't have a college education. But my last year in the military, I ended up being recruited by a financial services firm. And here it is 30 years later. I'm still in the business. I've had over 1,500 clients, and have developed this incredible format where we're saving people's lives by helping them make wise, strategic decisions.
Happy anniversary, baby. 30 years is a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the second statistic that you just gave?
I don't know, what did I say?
You mentioned how many people you have worked with. Was that the number?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had over 1,500 clients, easy.
Does that mean you put 1,500 people through school? College?
No, no. Okay, so my story is amazing. My journey is amazing. I didn't have an opportunity to go to college, and when I say I didn't have an opportunity, what that means is that my career was so fast tracked, and I was literally successful from the very beginning. That what I realized early on with the training and the education that you get in financial services, I began to look at why would I go to college? It didn't make sense. Why would I go to college to do what I'm already doing?
Yeah.
Being trained by some of the best and brightest in financial services. And as a matter of fact, in the early 2000s, when the market made that first correction from the tech bubble and the presidential election issue and all of that perfect storm, and folks took about a 50% hit between 2000 and 2003. Some of my clients were in that group, and they were coming to me asking me questions that I couldn't answer, such as, what do we do now? We've lost substantial money. How do we send our kids to college? How do I retire now?
Right.
Lost money. And it changed really the format of how I do business now, because I realized I was not going to ever have another conversation with someone about losing money. And a mentor that I had told me, well, if you had your certification in college planning, you'd have some real answers for these folks. And so at that time, there was an organization called the National Institute of Certified College Planners, and they actually provided continuing education to certified financial planners and certified public accountants, CPAs. And so I began to take their classes, and I got my certification, and it really changed the course of the way that I'm doing business now, because I'm actually now a contrarian, where I teach the opposite of what we are traditionally taught, because college funding, when it is done incorrectly, unfortunately, it negatively impacts the family almost forever, and generation after generation.
You're talking
And
about the student loan model?
Right, because a lot of people perceive that you can just show up at the school and they'll work all your problems out, and you walk away and life is grand, and it just doesn't work that way. As a matter of fact, I meet parents who are in their 40s who are still paying student loan debt that they took out 20 years ago.
Well, colleges and universities are just like regular salespeople. They want to get your ticket. They want to recruit you. They're telling you all the good things and probably not as many as of the bad. And to make matters worse, this whole student loan model that we're reading about now in the papers, we're reading it now in terms of the millennial, how it's all factoring through the millennial generation, that they can't buy houses. They're still living at home. A fact that people are starting to adjust to is that millennials indeed are the best educated generation in history, but they're also the brokest, or the most broke.
Yes.
And your contention is, at least in some small way, it's because they couldn't figure out the model, right? There's a way to do it and avoid the pain. And I can't wait to learn more about it. Now, a little, this is like a reverse, what do you call it when you go to see a movie and it's like a reverse spoiler alert, because we're not going to give you Jeff's secret sauce in this call. You have to hire him to have him do his magic. So reverse spoiler alert, we're not going to tell you anything at the end of this, interview.
I love it.
It's the only interview I've ever done where we didn't tell you jack, after listening to my guy.
Right.
But we're going to tease you enough to intrigue you to call him, especially when you think about what's at stake. How much does it cost for a college education now, Jeff?
Depending on the school that you attend and what do you qualify for. We don't look at college in terms of the gross price. We look at college in terms of the net price.
Talk to me about gross
You can
versus net.
easily, yeah, I tell all parents, regardless of the strength of your kid, be expected to pay somewhere between ten to $40,000 per year, depending upon the school that your kid talks you into.
Well, where does the net and the gross come into play with that range, 10 to 40K a year?
Oh, that deals directly with one of the strategies that we teach from uh, what we call strategic college selection, which is how do you position your kid for a full life. So every school has its own internal protocol for awarding funding, and they treat every family different. And so one of the things that we show families is what you qualify for relative to your profile. Profile meaning the student's academics and so forth, and then the family's income and assets. All of those things are treated equally. Income and assets of the parent, this is important, as the academics of the student. You cannot remove one from the other. And then that school is going to give you a number that's going to tell you what you qualify for. And then that's the information that we use to show parents how to pay zero for college.
All right, hang on one second. I understand that they would look at the student's profile, academic achievement, GPA, AP classes, advanced placement, uh, volunteer work, athletics. Are you saying they also look at the parent's portfolio, the parent's assets?
Yes, yes.
Now,
Some
this smells, go ahead.
So you have different types, you have different buckets of money, okay? You have need-based money. Now, every parent will tell you that I have a need. But colleges are not, they don't think like the Red Cross. They look at need differently. They have their own internal formula on how they determine need. And what we want to do is teach parents, how do you maximize your opportunity to make sure that you're getting the highest need met as possible. But there is two separate sides of the story in terms of the finances of the parent and the academics of the student. And you must attack both of them separately, and you must attack both of them within the rules that each school has relative to the profile of the student and income assets.
So just for clarification, because my imagination is going crazy now. The assets of the parents, this profile of the assets of the parents smells a little bit like profiling. Is everybody treated the same on this?
Oh, now see, you know what? You're getting me excited because you open up a great chapter here, because despite the fact that they do not treat everyone the same, the rules are the same for everyone.
Okay, so this is a classic case of knowing the rules of the game.
There you go.
Which is what you teach.
There you go.
Okay. So 10 to 40K a year, let's just take a middle number of 20 and multiply it times 4. That's 80K just in principal. I'm sure you've got all the fancy numbers on interest and how this accrues over a period of time. A student that just gets out of college isn't getting paid very much. And then things start to snowball, and 10 years later, they're looking at this mountain of debt that they couldn't possibly repay. That's a very common scenario, yeah?
Yes, and it's so unfortunate, and it is 100% avoidable. Let me say that again. It is 100% avoidable. And Mike, you made a very good point here. One of the biggest mistakes that the parent makes is that, because here's one of the biggest mistakes the parents make is that they don't look at paying for college over time. They look at, oh my God, I need 15 grand this year. What do I do now? Well, that's really not the issue. The issue is you're going to need 15 grand or more per year every year for the next 4 years. And what will be the economic impact on your family and your student 10, 15, 20 years from there? Because that's the real problem.
Well, let's chase that for a second, because it's not just, and I was using 20K times 4, it's not just the outstanding 80K in principal. We're talking about interest. And what is the interest? Is it a standard rate?
Mm-hmm. Oh my! It depends on who's in office.
Yeah, okay. So check this out. So the once you get to a certain place on your debt load, your credit score is affected. And a lot of people don't know this. I know you do, Jeff, that when your credit score is negatively impacted, it affects something on your insurance rating, which causes the insurance companies to charge you more for insurance. A lot of people don't know this. It's almost invisible to them. They just figure, man, insurance is expensive. Yeah, but it would be less expensive if you had a better credit score. Also, when you try to get a lease, after you graduate college, you want to get out of the cinder block dorm room, and you go and you start applying for with landlords. If your credit score is sky high, you can only get into certain neighborhoods now, and now maybe you're in a less safe neighborhood than you would have been able to get in with a higher credit score, and now you leave your car out at night because you don't have a garage wherever you're leasing. And because it's a less safe neighborhood, your car's more likely to get stolen. So now your car insurance goes up. Everything is negatively impacted. It is like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Yeah, I agree. That's another good point. And that's the reason why you have to look at this from a holistic perspective. The college, again, is not the Red Cross. They're not going to figure all of this out for you. Give you a perfect example. I had a family come and see me. This is the financial aid season where families are filling out the FAFSA and other related financial aid forms. And so one of the things that we do is we will do a review of the data that you've given to the government to look for mistakes, to look for opportunities that may have been missed. And this particular family made a $160,000 mistake on their financial aid form. And I asked them, I said, now who was going to correct this for you? Who was going to scrub your information to see whether or not if you had inputted the correct information? I said, the college doesn't do that. They don't send you a letter and tell you, hey, this information is wrong, unless it's a error. It's like, for example, social security number, maybe a name's not matching up, something like that. But they're not going to give you strategy information. And
is that a service that you provide?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So,
it's one of the
let
first
me be clear. Once financial aid forms are submitted, they can be amended?
Yes, they can.
Okay. I imagine most people don't even know that.
Yes.
Even if they could find the mistake, they wouldn't even think to amend it.
They wouldn't. Well, they wouldn't know to amend it, and they wouldn't know what the next steps were, because in this particular case, it raised the family's what we call EFC, or expected family contribution, which is the number that determines the formula that the schools and the government uses to award funding, and it increased it by over $10,000. So here they have this amazing, incredibly expensive mistake, and they have no way of knowing that the mistake was made.
Well, you're a good guy to have on your side, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. So, how do people? I'm talking with Jeff Taylor, everybody. I'm just answering my own question. If this is intriguing to you and you're getting ready for college, you want to contact Jeff Taylor immediately at his website, which is payzeroforcollege.com. Jeff, how? I think I know the answer to this. How early in life should mommy and daddy contact you, or should the student? You get contacted by the parents more often than the child, yeah?
Well, yeah. I get asked this question a lot, and the best time to call me is when the mom sees the blue line on the stick. So obviously she's going to call her husband, and then
maybe she calls somebody else first. We just don't know. Right,
mom or whoever, and then they need to call me because the clock is ticking. And
hopefully they never call you first, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God.
All right, and then you get them. There's an education process, even if it takes a long time for the actual college to happen. The process is best started really early, and I imagine even before there's a physical process of where money goes into buckets and stuff like that. There's a mental process that happens. You used the word scrub earlier. I imagine you got to scrub people's brains about about what it really takes to get through college, especially if it's a first generation college student. If the
Yes.
parents went through, let's see, they either went through relatively unscathed and figured it out, or they don't want the same thing to happen to their child what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
read someplace, Jeff, that only about 34 to 35% of Americans have a college degree. Is that still about correct?
Yeah, yeah. The numbers going up, and then this whole issue with the number of people who are coming over to this country and getting degrees. I mean, the numbers are crazy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you can't survive. You don't necessarily have to have a degree to do well, but you certainly need specialized training.
yeah,
Uh, and I am the perfect example of that.
yeah. You are. Tell me a success story from a client that you worked with, and you changed not only the student's life, but you changed the family's lives, because somebody's responsible for that debt. And I think on a student loan, there are a bunch of co-signers, yeah, including the student.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so unlike 20 years ago, where when the student was admitted to a college, even if they didn't receive any scholarships, the government would just give them a Stafford loan and send them on their way. They could stay in school as long as they were willing to take out Stafford loans. Now that's changed. There's a cap on the amount of debt that you are allowed as a freshman, and and then you have the issue of the gap, and the fact that parents are not prepared for that gap. So let me give you a quick story to share with you, because the gap is what causes sticker shock.
What is the
And
gap? The gap between the Stafford loan or whatever funding they have and reality. What it's going to take to do the 4 years, right?
exactly. So those families who are filling out their FAFSA, one of the things we talked about is the fact that you're not going to know how much you receive until you get the award letter, which will be somewhere around March, April of next year.
So the
And
award letter is like a good news, bad news missive. It says, congratulations, you've got X amount of dollars available for college. But the bad news is your shortfall is going to be so um, impossible to accomplish that the award letter is almost meaningless unless you can
well,
figure this
I,
out.
I, I wouldn't say it that way. Uh,
Okay.
like you said, the award letter is the moment of judgment, because it says, okay, here's what you were offered, here's your gap. Sometimes they will offer a Pair Plus loan to the parent to fill in that gap. Some schools don't even bring that option up. But the fact is that the award letter is your summary report that shows you how much you qualified for and how much you're going to have to pay. And this is where a lot of parents are caught off guard, because they thought because their kid had a 4.0 and a 30 ACT that they were guaranteed to get X amount of dollars, and that's not true.
Right.
Only about 1% of entering freshmen are going to receive a full ride. So that means
You
99% of
say
parents,
1%. Wow.
yeah, 99% of parents need to be prepared to pay for college. Um, so so I get a lot of calls around March, April, going into the later part of the year, particularly from parents who are seniors. And one of the things that they commonly say is that I know I should have called you years ago,
Yeah.
but I have procrastinated as long as I can. We're going to have to pay out 20 grand a year, and we've got some money saved, but we've got two more kids to go, and we're just trying to figure out how to do that.
I imagine you hear the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. I can now, remember my background was insurance, financial services, investments, and college funding came along, particularly in the sense of solution-based college funding, because there's a difference between college funding and solution-based college funding. All of the years of the experience that I've had of working with families and putting together plans, all of that plays a role because of my experiences. I know how to help you in a way that you haven't been helped, because I've already talked to 500 other people who are in the exact same situation, and I've been trained to help folks who are in those situations to solve their problems.
So I interrupted earlier. Finish your story about a successful relationship between you and a client.
Yes.
Be specific, man. Tell us a first name, the numbers involved, the college if you can. Make it
Uh-huh.
vivid.
Uh-huh. So, okay, so one of the things that I do, if you come to one of my seminars or if you meet with me, I share case studies. I don't like testimonials. Here's the reason why I don't like testimonials. What happened for one person is not going to be the same for you. So when you see a case study, you understand why we teach what we teach, and I think that's very important. So Miriam, his daughter was going to Michigan State. She was referred to me by another mom, and she came and she told me right up front, listen, the only reason I'm coming to see you is because my friend told me I need to see you. I said, okay, well, tell me your story. Make a long story short, she had a gap. Her daughter did, in fact, receive just about 100% tuition paid. But unfortunately, she was still going to be out of pocket about $50,000 to
Wait a
cover.
second. I'm having trouble with the math.
Yeah.
Miriam was in that 1% of people getting a full ride?
No, then that's not a full ride. 100% tuition paid is not a full ride. A
Explain
full
that.
ride is when all of it is paid.
What's the difference?
Okay, so
Lodging?
exactly. You have room and board. Room and board includes food and lodging.
Okay, so in Miriam's case, all of her academic tuition was paid, but there was going to be a gap that involved the extraneous expenses of going to school.
Exactly.
Going to Michigan State in Lansing. She had to travel and live there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And she's going to live on campus. And she
And that
wasn't
gap
gonna,
was $50K total?
yeah, it was about $50,000 that she was going to have to pay out of pocket to cover her gap.
Okay.
And so she told me, she said, well, listen, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stop my payments on my TSP plan, which is like a 401k. And I'm going to use that money to pay for college. And I said, okay, great. Well, at least, listen, let me give you a high five. At least you got a plan. I said, but I hate it.
Was Miriam's the student or the mom?
Miriam is the mom.
Okay, and that explains why she had a 401k. Okay, very good.
Right. Right.
So she's gonna rob Peter to pay Paul. She's gonna take money from one bucket and put it toward another. And she's a good mom, so she's sacrificing her own retirement to subsidize her daughter's education. I assume that's one of the reasons you hated it.
Well, that's one of several reasons why I hated it. And so I said to her, okay, you have a plan, but have you ascertain how much this plan is going to cost you? She said, well, not really. She said, I'm just going to help my daughter. I'm committed to this. I just don't want her to be 23, 24 years old with $50,000 of debt hanging over her head, because that's going to create more problems really for me. So I said, well, at least you're thinking ahead. I said, you're right. I said, so let me ask you a couple of questions here. So I said, okay, so you're going to take $50,000 out of your pocket and give it to Michigan State, correct? She says, correct. I said, okay. Is that the best financial decision that you can make? Giving them $50,000. She says, what do you mean? I said, well, you're going to give them $50,000. Is that a smart financial decision? And she said, well, I am concerned about my retirement. I said, I know. I said, but you're talking about draining your retirement to pay for college, and you're not making any plans to recapture or to protect yourself from that. She said, well, again, I'm just trying to help my daughter. I said, okay, great. I said, let me ask you this. Are you willing to allow me to run some numbers and show you how much it's going to cost in true numbers? I said, that's going to be really our first step. She said, okay, we agreed to a fee amount and all of that. So I created what we call a cost assessment. I ran the numbers for her. Her decision to do that was going to cost her over $200,000. Why? Because the lack of her contributing to her retirement over time and over the lifetime that she's expected to live in retirement, she's going to literally cut out and drain over $200,000 because she's going to stop contributing to her plan to pay for college. And I
Is
said,
this
now,
what we call, in addition to the accumulation factor, this is often referred to as the time value of money, right?
yeah, or opportunity cost or opportunity loss, depending upon what school you're in.
People tend to look at the number they're writing the check for, and they don't think about time. They don't think about interest. They don't think 10 years on. They don't think inflation. All that stuff's kind of invisible to them.
Exactly.
Okay. And you pointed all this out to old Miriam, and then what did she say?
So we run her numbers, and this is what she says. My numbers are not going to work. I said, that's what I'm trying to tell you. And what she saw was, so when we do a cost assessment, we run it year by year. And so the way she was trying to do it, she was going to run a deficit of 400, because I talk about this case study all the time. Her deficit was going to be $450 per month for her third and fourth year, because she was thinking that she could just take that money and pay Michigan straight directly. And they don't take annual 12-month payments like that. You have to, you can do a payment plan, but you have to be finished by like October, November of that first semester for the year. So she was clearly underfunded. She was draining her retirement reserves. And here was the frightening thing about it. She didn't know it. Even though
she hadn't met you, she would have done exactly that. That was not only plan A, it was the only plan.
Right. It was her only plan.
And probably true for a lot of parents trying to do the right thing for their kids, right?
Exactly. That's why I gave her a high five and you know, I give a parent a hug, because I want them to be encouraged to, okay, great, you've done some good things here, but have you considered how much it costs? And she really hadn't done that. And she hadn't written anything down. And so when I do a cost assessment, I always ask parents, did you realize it was going to cost this much? And everyone tells me the same thing. You know what? I just didn't see it that way.
Well, how would they? They don't have a degree in finance. They haven't been in the business 30 years like my friend Jeff Taylor. They haven't put 1,500 cases in front of them with people with similar problems and solved their problems. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're getting ready to wrap up. Jeff Taylor, everybody. This is payzeroforcollege.com. Jeff, I know you get a fee for your work. Is it a fee for service? Is it a percentage? How do you get paid?
Yes. Okay, so if I could just share this, when I'm going to work with a family, the very first step is what we call a risk assessment. And what that does, that tells me, or tells the both of us, where are you now? Where are the mistakes that you're making? Because your cost of college is going to be driven primarily by the mistakes that you are making. And every parent is making tens of thousands of dollars of mistakes that they just don't see. Yeah. That not only are they going to pay, but their kid is going to pay. So we need to do that risk assessment to see exactly where you are. Then from there, we can talk about potential solutions. So the first step, we don't charge a fee for that. That's free. Then once we know the challenges that you have, the mistakes that you're making, the red flags in your situation, then we can talk about which module is going to fit your particular situation, how we're going to solve that. And that can run between $500 to $1,500, depending upon if we're going to have CPAs involved or tax professionals, or is it just going to be me? If I'm going to be assisting you with picking out the right schools, are we going to run a tax analysis to find those tax scholarships and so forth? So It's a very comprehensive platform where we are going to find substantial dollars that the parent is sitting on, but they just haven't had someone who thinks outside the box and have been trained in this way.
I'll tell you what, man, you seem like you'd be a family's best friend around
Thank you very much.
College decisions. I'm so impressed with what you do. I know you as a person of integrity in the speaking business here in Detroit, Michigan, and although I've never...
I do travel. California.
Can you work with people out of state?
Absolutely.
All over the country?
Yes, we have folks in Atlanta, Georgia. We've got clients in Texas. We've got clients in California. As a matter of fact, California is where I started because I was in the military. I had over 500 clients out there.
What about Louisiana? Louisiana's kind of edgy.
Well, hey, if there's a family in Louisiana, I would love them to be my first customer.
I'm just kidding. My brother's in Louisiana. He's got 2 kids. He's putting through college. I wish he would have talked to you. Jeff Taylor at payzeroforcollege.com, everybody. This is called solution-based college funding. You got to know the rules of the game. Attending college is a game. In order to win the game, you got to know the rules. And Jeff Taylor is going to hook you up. Jeff, thank you so much for all you do to make people's lives better and improve our communities and set people on the right path. Life is complicated these days, and it's good to have somebody like you saying, go that way.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mike, and I appreciate you and your friendship, and congratulations to you. Obviously, you have become a rising star and highly trusted advisor throughout the world, and I've actually seen it develop with my own eyes. And
Yeah.
you can continue to impress me with your presentations and the way that you help people improve their ability to communicate.
My pleasure, man. Let's grab dinner soon.
Absolutely.
See you later. Jeff Taylor, everybody, at payzeroforcollege.com. Bye-bye, Jeff.
Take care.